May 7th, 2025, a date that will live in infamy for Boeing. It wasn't a crash or a scandal that rocked the giant aerospace company. Instead, it was one simple email from Europe's largest low-cost airline with the chilling subject line, "Withdrawal." Just like that, Boeing's carefully built order book began to collapse. What caused this sudden freeze? Not safety concerns or bad reviews, but a wave of tariffs triggered by Trump's trade war, a financial earthquake nobody saw coming. This was a Black Swan event, meaning it was rare, unpredictable, and devastating. Imagine building a giant house of cards, one wrong move and everything tumbles down. By midday, that first cancellation wasn't alone. 3 more airlines followed, each pulling back their orders. The first domino had fallen, and the whole industry was about to feel the shockwaves. Back in 2018, President Trump dropped a 25% tariff bomb across a wide range of imports, from aircraft parts to everyday Chinese goods. It wasn't subtle, no exemptions, no special treatment, just a sledgehammer slammed down on global trade. For Boeing, this was huge. The 787 Dreamliner alone is made of about 30,000 parts, sourced all over the world. These parts arrived just in time to be assembled, kind of like a giant, complex puzzle where every piece must fit perfectly and on schedule. Tariffs suddenly made those parts more expensive and harder to get. Boeing's CEO believed they might dodge the worst of it, thinking the aerospace sector would be spared. But he was wrong. The tariffs didn't just slow things down, they set the stage for a perfect storm. Europe didn't sit quietly while Trump's tariffs hammered their exports. The European Union fired back with its own list of retaliations, targeting $100 billion worth of American goods, with Boeing jets squarely in the crosshairs. That meant a 25% duty on Boeing airplanes sold to the EU. This was a shockwave through the aviation world. Airlines like Emirates started eyeing Airbus's A350 planes instead of Boeing's. Air India even began renegotiating its contracts, weighing their options carefully. What used to be untouchable, civil aircraft, became a bargaining chip in a geopolitical chess game. Boeing wasn't just losing sales. It was losing its traditional shield of political protection. The trade war had turned a symbol of American innovation into collateral damage. Behind every Boeing jet is a vast network of suppliers spread across the globe. When tariffs hit, this carefully balanced system started to crack. In Germany, avionics factories halted production. In Japan, key suppliers began pulling out, unable to absorb the added costs. Even rare earth materials crucial for electronics faced bans from China. At Boeing's Renton plant in Washington state, workers began stockpiling parts like doomsday preppers hoarding supplies. They knew delays were coming and every missing piece could ground entire production lines. Tariffs aren't just extra taxes, they're ticking time bombs for small and medium-sized businesses. Take a Missouri fabricator, for example, forced to cut shifts because Boeing's demand dried up. These hidden ripples show just how fragile global supply chains really are. For the first time in 16 years, Boeing workers went on strike. Their message was clear. We build jets, not trade wars. These aren't just factory workers. They're the backbone of America's aerospace dreams. But as layoffs spread from Texas to Arizona, their livelihoods were caught in the crossfire of politics and tariffs. This strike wasn't just about pay or benefits. It was a protest against the uncertainty and instability caused by a trade war they never asked for. The workers knew they were economic collateral damage, paying the price for a conflict far above their pay grade. At the start of 2025, Boeing's CEO Kelly Ortberg was confident. In January, he believed tariffs wouldn't hit Boeing hard. But by March, everything changed. Behind closed doors, emergency board meetings were called. The tone shifted from hopeful to panicked. Lobbying Congress became a full-time job. Boeing's leaders begged for relief, knowing that without it, the company's future was at risk. When CEOs go from optimism to desperation, it's a clear sign. The crisis isn't just real, it's deep. While Boeing stumbled, Airbus saw a chance to swoop in. Deals like Air India's wide-body order suddenly hung in the balance, with Airbus ready to fill the gap. But in a rare move, both Airbus and Boeing issued a joint statement calling for tariff relief. This wasn't just competition, it was a warning. Even fierce rivals come together when the entire system breaks. The trade war was turning the aviation industry into a battlefield where nobody truly wins and everyone risks losing. To really understand how serious this tariff situation is, imagine this. Every Boeing jet, let's say a 787 Dreamliner, suddenly cost $3 million more because of tariffs. That's not a small number. It's like adding the price of a luxury car onto each plane. Now picture Boeing trying to sell 100 of these jets a year. Those extra costs add up fast. $3 million times 100 jets equals a staggering $300 million in added expenses. That's like losing the entire annual revenue of a mid-sized company just because of these tariffs. Inside Boeing's financial offices, the mood is grim. A leaked message from the CFO warned that if these tariffs stick around, revenue could drop by 10%. And if the trade war heats up with China, the drop could double to 20%. Imagine a business suddenly losing a fifth of its income. That's not just bad luck. That's a crisis. This math shows that tariffs aren't just some annoying tax. They threaten the very existence of Boeing's commercial aircraft business. It's like trying to run a marathon with a heavy backpack full of bricks. The pressure is mounting, and Boeing's future is on the line. As Boeing's crisis deepened, many hoped that Congress would come to the rescue. A Senate bill was introduced to exempt aircraft parts from the crippling 25% tariffs. For Boeing, this exemption was a lifeline, a chance to breathe, rebuild, and keep production moving. But the bill fell short, missing passage by just 3 votes. In the House, Republicans rebelled against the idea, fearing it might weaken the president's tough stance on trade. The division wasn't just political posturing, it was a standoff with huge consequences. Then came the White House's stern warning. If Congress tried to meddle, tariffs might double. Imagine trying to fix a sinking ship, only to be told any patch you put on will make the hole bigger. This tangled mess of politics sent a chilling message to companies and investors. When government can't get its act together, markets suffer. Boeing found itself stuck in the middle of a political tug-of-war, with its future hanging in the balance. The very system meant to protect businesses was instead deepening the crisis. As Boeing struggled to keep its footing amid tariffs and political chaos, new challengers seized the opportunity to step into the spotlight. One of the biggest surprises came from China's Comac, a state-backed company that had long been seen as a distant threat but not a serious competitor. Now, Comac is slashing prices on its aircraft, offering airlines a cheaper alternative that's hard to ignore. At the same time, Embraer, Brazil's aerospace powerhouse, is making bold moves in Africa, winning contracts and establishing a strong foothold in markets that Boeing once dominated. These companies are no longer just small players. They're becoming serious rivals on the global stage. What's most striking is that Boeing's backup plan isn't just Airbus anymore. It's Shanghai's Comac. This shift signals a profound change in the world's aerospace balance of power. The trade war started by Western countries has inadvertently become China's golden ticket. As tariffs isolate Boeing, Comac gains ground, showing how economic conflicts can reshape industries in unexpected ways. So, what's next for Boeing? Industry experts and insiders lay out 3 possible futures, and each paints a very different picture. Best case, imagine the tariffs finally being lifted, either through negotiations or political change. Boeing would slowly start to rebuild trust with its customers and suppliers. Production would pick back up, and orders might return. But even in this best-case scenario, Airbus won't just sit quietly. They've already taken a bigger slice of the market, so Boeing would be fighting to catch up in a more crowded, competitive industry. Mid-case. Now imagine the trade war dragging on for years. Boeing's commercial plane business would shrink as airlines turned to Airbus or other competitors. Boeing would be forced to shift focus, leaning heavily on its defense contracts, military jets, and government projects to survive. The company would lose some of its commercial aerospace dominance, becoming more specialized but less powerful globally. In the worst-case scenario, China's Comac continues to grow, benefiting from Western divisions. Comac could dominate the global market for commercial planes, especially in Asia and emerging economies. Boeing might become little more than a cautionary tale, once a giant of American industry, now a symbol of what happens when politics and trade wars crush innovation and competition. The big takeaway. In this volatile, unpredictable environment, there are no clear winners. There are only survivors, companies and countries that can adapt, evolve, and weather the storm. Now it's your turn to weigh in. Boeing has faced storms before, but this trade war is different. Will Boeing bounce back stronger, or is Airbus, and maybe even Comac, the future of the skies? Drop a comment below and tell us what you think. Do you believe Boeing can recover, or is this the beginning of a new era in global aviation? If you want to dive deeper into how trade wars and politics are shaping industries like electric vehicles and semiconductors, smash that like button and subscribe. Next, up Taiwan's chip war, an invisible battle with massive global consequences.